Hi, I am the media secretary at Fortson High School. I prefer to think of it as a stewardship. I'm also an alumni of Fortson High School. And my concerns are, and piggybacking off of what we're speaking about, we have one of the most unusual, beautiful, fabulous libraries on the planet. This high school is amazing. This library is a crown jewel of this city. And we have some things that we really need to start mitigating, whether it's looking at climate control in there because of the expansion and contraction of the wood. We have all of the original furniture in there. We've got fading of the tapestry. We've got some peeling on the paintings. We need to do something to preserve this history now. I know that things have been done and some of the paintings have been restored, which has been probably 20 years ago, I think now. They're kind of peeling off the wall. Some of them have had water damage from the flooding. Plaster is starting to deteriorate. Climate control, I know, would be one thing. The big tapestry that's there, they sell a film by 3M that can go on the inside of the windows that would mitigate some of that. The fading is so bad. I don't know if we can get someone from the DIA to come in and see if they can restore any of this. But really looking at preserving this particular room, I think is paramount, and it's not in the plans. I'm looking at the plans, I'm reading the plans. I see all these things, I see nothing that says Fortson Library. Not for climate control, not for perhaps glass over some of these paintings so that they can not receive any further damage. So I would love to see the board and the companies that we're working with take a step back and reevaluate as we move forward in the plans that are going on and looking at spending some time, because this is the 100-year building. And I am doing my utmost best in, taking time with polishing wood and cleaning that place up. And really, it's a stewardship for me. It's not a job. I absolutely love it. And whatever we can do to make this happen, I'm here for it, and I beg you to rethink it and do something to help that happen. Thank you.
President Hope, good question.
Thank you, Kim.
Kim, thank you for your passion for our beautiful library over there. Question for you. Do you have any idea what happened to that beautiful artwork and artifacts that were along the stairway going up to the tower? No?
I don't. I will scour around. I'll be at Fortson full-time come the 23rd because of the changes, which will allow me some more time to look for more archives upstairs and look through some of the storage areas and try to find some of the things that have happened. I know with many different hands that have gone through and many different people that have worked there, things get moved, things get painted, things don't return. Not under my watch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you.
Next.
Next, Marian Mortada from Dearborn would like to come to speak to the board about ALC, the Annual Leadership Conference.
Hello, good evening. The last school board meeting, I talked about how Education International is pushing the two largest teachers unions and the American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association into the fourth industrial revolution. The teacher unions are parroting the Gates Foundation's Reimagine Education campaign, which is being buoyed by the World Economic Forum and the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. Altogether, the AFT, the NEA, the WEF, and UNESCO are all reimagining a new post-human education system as they simultaneously push for ed tech overhauls. After that meeting, I became aware of an annual leadership conference held on October 20th through the 23rd in Traverse City, Michigan, organized by the Michigan Association of School Boards. During that conference on Friday, there was a session called Education Opportunities with a presentation from 10:15 to 11:15 a.m. called A05, Mobilize the Future of School, How Pioneers Inform Education Systems amidst Disruption. It was described as schools play a critical role in preparing students to be productive global citizens and capable members of the modern workforce for the fourth industrial revolution. The World Economic Forum characterizes high-quality learning models for the fourth industrial revolution as Education 4.0. This framework, established before the pandemic, must now exist in a disruptive world of social, economic, and political instability where 19th and 20th century ideologues are crumbling. In this conversation, we will examine pioneering schools that embrace the critical characteristics of Education 4.0 and are mobilizing the masses to shift education. I would like to request on behalf of the taxpaying community and the parents, and I'm a taxpayer from the community and a grandparent of students, a disclosure on who from the school board attended this conference and an explanation of what was presented concerning Education 4.0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe the next meeting.
Next, Hassan Ayun would like to come to speak to the board. Okay, I can't read his writing about what he would like to come to speak to the board about.
Suggestion would be to reconvene at a later time at an auditorium someplace
You guys know what this is? Good morning.
Suggestion
Good
would be to
afternoon.
reconvene
Start
at
the
a later
time.
at an Suggestion would be to reconvene at a later time at an auditorium someplace where it's safe and you can safely house this many people. This way you don't have, I know the egress is fine here, you got lots of exit, but people typically go out the door they came in. And so now you're having hundreds and hundreds of people go out, one set of double doors, which are blocked by the people that are wanting to protest right now. So if you want to end
Did
it
you
for
watch it,
tonight
Mr.
and let
Berry?
them, they can stay outside all night and they can
So did you
do
watch
what they
it on
got to
my
do.
Facebook?
It's fine. We'll monitor that. But to have some leave and only allow some back in, that's going to cause a lot larger problem for you. And it's going to cause a lot larger problem for us. We're here to help. However, we can only do so much. And I don't want to put my officers, in the middle of a situation that's really rough. And it's not safe for you folks either. I mean, I don't think there's going to be violence. It's just going to be loud, boisterous, pushing and shoving like we have now. But it's going to be, multiplied if we're having people leave and come and leave and come. And we're saying we're trying to get a fire marshal count.
That would make it more palatable to everybody to go back. I say, look, we recognize that this venue is not large enough for this crowd. We want to be able to do this safely. So we are going to cancel this meeting and we will let you know when we find an appropriate place for everybody to come and comfortably.
Okay, I want to let
Is that really a good idea?
I don't know.
I don't think it's, you guys remember that? All you guys are liars except for the new people. You guys know about the fire marshal. You guys sat there, lied to the crowd, and the officer came and says, there's a fire, we can't tell them because they're not buying it. It's right on body cam. You got me on Facebook, go watch it. Mr. Berry,
Please address the chair only.
I'm addressing everybody. This is the chair here. He's on the chair. You just became brand new, huh? This is all about? You're going to disrespect us like Roxanne McDonald? Right? 49 seconds. What do you want to tell me? You want to disrespect me in 49 seconds? I got the chair. Please don't say nothing to me. When you got the chair, you could talk. I'm the guy in charge. I got 37 seconds, 33, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 24, 23, 22, 20, 19, 18. Every single one of you people disrespected the community. 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. And
Next, Jackson Wagner from Dearborn would like to come to speak to the board about banned books.
Three months ago, an angry mob claimed that 6 books were corrupting the youth. A few days later, we sat through hours of hate speech, and those of us who spoke out against the push to ban books were heckled, interrupted, shouted over, followed back to our seats, etc. They would go on to challenge a total of 12 titles, 9 of which thankfully survived the process this board claims is in place. Unfortunately, 3 of those titles were banned. I've brought one of those banned books with me today. I bought this book, Red, White, and Royal Blue, by Casey McQuiston at Motor City Pride in Detroit back in June. I read it in late September or early October before that meeting 3 months ago. It's a phenomenal story about love and relationships, but it's also a book about the dangers of shame, prejudice, and the consequences of forcing people to hide who they are from the world. I was shocked when this book was banned, and I can feel it in my bones that it was banned to appease the mob, not on its merits. Earlier today, I was at the Welcome Center at Henry Ford College, registering for classes. As I was leaving, I saw a plaque from when the building was first opened in 2012. I recognized the names of 2 current trustees immediately. It's remarkable and admirable that over a decade later, you're still serving this city's education system. But will you be remembered for years of service or for appeasing a mob fueled by prejudice and fear? 2,420 years, 10 months, and 26 days ago, Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, died. Like the 12 titles which were challenged, Socrates was charged by his opponents with corrupting the youth because he encouraged young men, many of whom were the same age as today's high school students, to question the norms of their society. The men who forced Socrates to drink poison were well-respected members of their community. Yet despite all the popular support for his execution, all of those men are only remembered today as the villains of that story. Socrates, on the other hand, is hailed as a hero and a martyr by scholars in every field. Like his student Plato and Plato's student Aristotle, influenced Christian and Islamic philosophy and modern science. The man who questioned the prevailing social order and norms of his day is remembered so fondly not just because his students kept his memory alive, but also because justice eventually wins out over power and prejudice in the end. This book was challenged because it questions the cruel and intolerant norms of an earlier generation built on shame. The same thing Socrates was killed for. What will your legacy be?
Next, Crystal Paulson from Dearborn would like to come to speak to the board about COVID protocol.
Hi. I had a couple of parents reach out and they wanted to know what your stance was on the mask, but as you guys know, I questioned last year at the same time, didn't I? So if you guys could please state when you do your comments, but we found more books. So I'm going to read from Lost Boy and Lost Girl, and it's that Essel. Joseph Callender, a serial rapist, child abuser, and murderer is the intrepid, marked, sweet-natured golden boy whose stunning good looks are rather creepily overstressed. Keeps uncovering nauseating things. Tim and Philip involved the local authorities, aided by Detective Tom Passport, On Loan from Mystery, 1989. The face of the adolescent boy is lured away by a sexual predator, connected that of a lost girl, herself, and otherworldly seductive force who haunts those fail to save her, and in nod to the shrubs sometime of Stephen King. And it's racial too. So dumbbells are calling her mother effer. Philip had once staged whispered to him, "Tell me you take that every day." Philip says they're not ignorant, they're not dumb, and they're certainly not all black. They're just afraid. They'll freeze to death if they lose their gas. We work out a little deal, that's all. I mean, come on, guys. Like, we find more books, and obviously it's not about gays, so. But to address what was played by Cash, I stood out in that hallway to make sure none of my people went there. Because if anybody was going to step that line, me as one of the mothers, I was ready to step in the middle. Remember that, because what was said and what was captured, we're owed a little bit more respect, because we're not jokes. We put you in your seats. Respect. This, just stop, please. Have a good day.
Next card.
Next card, Stephanie Butler from Dearborn wants to speak about COVID protocol.
I also wanted to address on the videos, you know, now that the FOIA request was done and the public got to see the actual videos. You know, you guys sat up here and you pointed your fingers at the crowd, the parents, the taxpayers. You demanded an apology from us, and you said that we put words in your mouth about this fire marshal business. And I think that you all owe us an apology, because as it turns out, in the process of you guys violating the Open Meetings Act by having your private meeting in the back with your discussions and all this other stuff, which is obviously a violation, you guys all sat here and lied and you blamed it on Mr. Shammy, who's not here and wasn't here at the time to defend himself, about accusing him. But going back and watching the video from different angles and watching the body cam from the police officer, it was clear that he was called up here by this body and given the story about the fire marshal because Miss McDonald was told that he was our leader. We don't have leaders. Each parent is responsible for their own, they think for themselves. We're not led by a leader, but it showed him being brought up here and being fed the fire marshal story. And then it showed them reporting back to the superintendent. And then you guys go into the back where you're discussing meetings and what to do and how to get everybody out, and what should we cancel the meeting, not cancel it. You guys sat and pointed your fingers at the audience last time, at the parents. And you sit up there and you ask yourselves, why is every single meeting like this? Why is there so much hostility? Can you finally begin to imagine? It's called, this board does not take responsibility for any of its actions, and the people are sick of it. We deserve to be told the truth. We shouldn't have to FOIA things to find out what actually took place back there. And then Mr. Shammy, I think he's owed a public apology too, because you said he put words in your mouth and he made up the fire marshal thing, which caused this whole uproar, and none of that was true. That's stuff that you guys discussed in the back room, and that's something that we clearly saw, him being grabbed and told the story of what to come to this microphone and tell the parents that night. So, you know, something's got to change here. And lying and trying to get away with that, like it all, whatever's done in the dark will always come to light. Remember that. As we stood here and fought for our kids, we were called liars. We were called all sorts of things. We've had to fight out in the public against that. But you know, the proof is, like they say, the proof's in the pudding, and we have that. So I think it's this board that owes those people an apology.
Next, Nabila Athalaya from Dearborn would like to come to speak to the board about the board.
Go on to the next one.
Next, Dr. Adib Mosup from Dearborn would like to come to speak to the board about the board organizational.
Good evening. First of all, to the Secretary from Fortson, yes, we need some work on Fortson. I attended the 100-year anniversary celebration. I was very disappointed to see the condition of the auditorium, the condition of the library. That's one point. Second, actually, I was here today with my family and community member to celebrate what would have been the historic appointment of my brother, Adib Mosup, as the president of the board. This was supposed to be a representation of inclusion, a representation of belonging, indication to us as the Yemeni American community here that we belong. But what do we watch? We watch a power grab by some board members here. We watch a power grab that represent exclusion, culture, discrimination at the highest level of the system. A good mentor once told me, when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. This board has shown us one time after another who they are. And some board in here are racing to be listed after the disgrace and racist Mayor Hubbard. Good for you. Go for that list. You will be there, hopefully one day. Some board members, especially Trustee Plunchkoff, take it upon herself.
Please address the board.
Every time she take it upon herself to correct and critique Adil. If she doesn't realize that, I hope she can go watch the meetings. Every time he says something, she has to find some way to say something about it or correct it or act like the president. We just hear the recording. She's directing everybody what to do. Even she's not the president. We watch it in the organization meeting. She's cutting Mr. Beatty off. She's cutting everybody. She thinks she can control everything. This racism and culture discrimination needs to stop on this board. You preach norms and policies and precedency every time we try to change something. But today we saw the norms out of the window. Precedents, we don't need to believe in it. We can do whatever we want. Trump and his allies failed in January 6, 2021 to grab the power. And he failed. He failed why? Because there were good people on the canvas board here in Michigan that said, no, we will do the right things even if it doesn't go our way, we will stand and do, even if we feel uncomfortable with what we're doing, we will do the right things. Unfortunately, there were not enough good people in this room tonight to stand up for what is right, which was happening.
Next, Aldu Hakam Al-Sada would like to come to speak to the board about the chair's election from Dearborn.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And first, congratulations to the new board members. Second, thank you to all of you for your service. We respect you, but we also have the right to disagree when we see something wrong. Like Dr. Adib said, I came today to watch a normal process that has happened time and time again. Vice president becomes a president. We were not aware of any policy. We were not aware, as a citizen. We voted for all of you. We voted for all of you. As a citizen, for example, Trustee Mary should inform the community that she was gonna change the rules, what has been going on tonight, this specific election. She comes and then she starts with transparency. As soon as I heard, I don't know her, I never met her. Just want to make that very clear. Soon as somebody tells me transparency, democracy, I know they don't mean anything at all. They mean that they are devious, they are actually conspire against people and use transparency. We come here to actually congratulate a person who has devoted his life, like all of you, to go through a process. With all due respect to James, to the new chair, I don't have any problem with any of you. I have a problem when you start corrupting the process. You are corrupting the process. The board has, time and time again, are becoming the problem, not part of the solution, because of the division you are creating. Tonight was supposed to be an easy process, like it has been going on for years. Wanted to remind everyone that when we start a recall, don't complain and say, why are you doing this against me? Because you are doing it against yourself and against the community. Thank you.
Lastly, Ann Clark from Dearborn, his last blue card, would like to speak to the board about teacher safety.
I'm rather appalled that we're having to do this again and again and again. You were talking about taking care of the teachers. They feel that they haven't been appreciated. Well, now you have books. It's called Assassination Classroom. It's a book, a series by YATSEI, well, it doesn't matter. Anyways, where they talk about different ways to kill a teacher. Why in the hell is that in your schools? Why? We're supposed to protect our children and our teachers. It's a series, and it's been checked out at Fortson. So why are you guys sitting there like, it's not a big deal? And now more books are coming in that are violent. We're supposed to take care of our children. How is violence educational? Now, if you want to have books on how to get along with other cultures, let's do that. We might as well bring the Quran back and the Bible back, because that at least doesn't talk about murder. So, I mean, this doesn't even make any sense. And it's like a cartoon series. You're dealing with kids they're malleable. That's like if they see somebody kicking a dog, well, maybe I'll do that, because they don't know the difference. But if they're not shown that, they're not going to necessarily do that. So, we just had a 6-year-old in a school shooting a teacher. Now, if that's not ringing home to you that something's wrong with bringing violent books into our children's libraries, you want to put it in the public library, go ahead. But you're responsible for our children, and you're failing again. So recall, well, I guess that's what your future is, because if you're not going to get off your ass and do something, we will. Thank you.
Any more blue cards?
Nope.